Hello, friends. This episode of the podcast is brought to you by From Within Records. Have you listened to the From Within Records podcast? If not, go boot up your Spotify, your Apple Podcasts, and go subscribe. Great chemistry between the hosts. I love Jake, Dylan, and Carter, and they've been having on awesome guests. So please, if you're not listening, do yourself a favor and go subscribe now. And if you're not following From Within Records on social media, go boot up your Twitter, your Instagram, click that follow button to stay up to date on all the current news. There's going to be some awesome news coming very soon, so please stay tuned. And like I always say, please support From Within Records because they support us. If you're looking for high quality merch for your band, your business, for anything, I highly suggest you go contact my friends over at Good Fortune Printing out of Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. You can follow them on Instagram at Good Fortune Printing, or you can email them at contact@goodfortuneprinting.com. They do high quality prints. I've printed all my collab shirts with them. The shirts you saw at FYA, the shirt you saw at the From Within Records showcase, it was all done by Good Fortune Printing. I highly support that business and love everything that they're doing. So please do yourself a favor and do business with them. On today's episode, we had to travel to the city. We had to track down our good buddy, Andrew Vacante. He sings for a band called Combust. They just put out a new record titled Another Life on Cash Only Records. If you're not familiar, please click pause, do yourself a favor, go boot up your Apple Music, your Spotify, your Tidal, your Bandcamp, and go listen to Another Life, and come back here and listen to Andrew and I talk about the record. It was really fun to be able to have Andrew back on the podcast. I'm a huge fan of Combust, awesome band out of New York City. So please strap in, enjoy this conversation. Without further ado, welcome Andrew to the show. All right, and we're live. Welcome to the podcast, Andrew. How's it going?
Yo, what's up, man? Glad to be back. Thank you.
Yeah, no, this is a pleasure of mine because I've been a fan of Combust for a long time, and I was, always wanting to help spread the word because I really was into the music, and here we are some odd years later, and you guys are still at it. And that last record that you guys put out, it's like I listened to it titled Another Life, and I was like, damn. These guys are still super talented. This is so sick. Like I have to reach out to Andrew again to see if he's down to be on the podcast again. So I'm happy that you were still down to do it.
Yo, of course, man. Thank you. I appreciate that for real.
Okay, so catching up from the last record, the band stayed busy, right? You guys put out some singles in between, but I'm just curious, how long did it take for you guys to write this record?
So like we started writing the record, I'd say right when probably like right when the pandemic like hit, and we had shit in the chamber, but we were like, yo, like let's take this time where no one's playing shows or anything, and let's just like lock ourselves in the studio, like our practice space, and like let's just bang out this whole LP, because we've been wanting to do an LP, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
We had like little songs here and there, like you said, like we did I think we did like Missing Piece first, and then we did the Triple B comp song, and like those songs were cool, but I feel like it just wasn't like wasn't what we really wanted to nail the LP with. So we were just like, yo, let's just, like I said, lock ourselves in the space and let's just nail this LP. So it took us over a year easily to the LP went through like a lot of changes too. So
okay. And starting the record, did you have the goal to put it out in 2022, or did you guys just kind of just take your time because everything was so up in the air when you started writing the record?
Well, we didn't know what was gonna happen. Obviously no one did. You know what I mean? So I was like, yeah, let's just as like shows kept getting like announced and then canceled and like nothing was happening, I was like, yo, let's just not rush it at all. So I mean, this was probably the earliest it could have made sense to come out with everyone's schedules and all that shit.
Okay, and you mentioned that the LP had gone under a lot of changes. Is that just the style of the record, or just like the going with a different artwork? Can you elaborate on that?
So not the style of the record. We knew what style we wanted it to be from
Hmm.
day one. I mean, I think like I wouldn't say we lost our sound on the Void, but like it kind of shifted a little bit on the Void from the demo, like just a little bit, and like not in a bad way.
Hmm.
But I wanted to capture more of what we did more on the demo on the LP. You know what I mean? Um, but it went through a lot of changes in like we wrote 20 songs.
Oh wow.
Yeah, we and like the track listing is 11.
Hmm.
So we wrote 20. So like mad shit got nixed. And then when Connor Jones came in and like cuz he helped produce the record. Uh there were songs that like were fully done for a minute and then they got like scrapped and then reconstructed, and you know what I mean? So when I say that it went through changes, I mean like that. Like so like songs were just either scrapped, rewritten, tweaked. There's a lot of tweaking going on, and then up until the time that we actually recorded it.
And those songs that got scrapped, are you gonna try to reuse those for something later on, or are you guys just kind of just really just done with all that?
Oh yeah, I mean we think that the songs that didn't even make it to the LP was still good. They just it
Mm.
didn't seem like cohesive, but we have like a whole Dropbox full of unused riffs and songs that we got still in the chamber. So maybe down the line, some will be out sooner than you even think. I don't know.
Yeah, because I think about that, and uh, I wonder if that's tricky for you guys, right? Because you have this body of work, another life, and then you have this Dropbox with these songs that didn't make it, and obviously you want to let that record live, but then also moving past that record, it's like, will these songs kind of trip you up, sonically? Because obviously there might be some progression with your sound, or you might want to try to stay in that same lane. So I'm just curious for you. Do you even think about things like that when it comes to these extra songs?
Oh yeah, I mean like I I am a very uptight neurotic person, so I spent my own time thinking about all that shit when we were writing it. But I mean like they don't stray too far away from how the LP sounds. Like
Hmm.
really, I think it was just about what made the most sense for like what kind of songs we wanted on the record. You know what I mean? I think for the most part, they still sound in sync as to what Another Life is,
Hmm.
but just not in the way that we wanted the record to be constructed, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and
But yeah, no, I mean, we're gonna let the record live for a minute, but we're definitely gonna put those songs to use eventually.
okay. And is there like any one particular track out of that nine that was like really hard for you to cut for the record?
Um, the hardest thing for me to cut at first was Why I Hate, the second track.
Hmm.
That song was written in a completely different way, and I wrote that like along like at the beginning of writing the LP, and I think reconstructing that when we first reconstructed it, it was like really hard for me to let that go. So maybe like the old way we played it then might make a reappearance in a new song. I don't know. We'll see.
Figure it out. Okay. And
Yeah.
you mentioned Connor Jones. I know, I mean, has a hand in Cash Only Records, but I'm curious, how did he get involved to help produce the record?
So he actually, well, I mean, we've been boys for a minute,
Hmm.
and I always, I appreciate the way that he writes music. I'm a fan of all of his bands. And it's good to talk to your friends about how they like the thought process behind the way they write shit. And he's a student of New York hardcore as am I. And we were talking. I think we were playing a card game at my house, and I was just talking to him about like how the record was going for writing it because I'd never written an LP before, and I was just talking to him about it, shooting the shit. I was showing him some of the new songs, and then I think he was like, "Yo, like if you want like some advice or like if you want some help here and there, like I'd be more than happy to like sit in on practices and just like give my thoughts on it." And that's just how it kind of happened naturally like that, just a friend being interested. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I feel like that's a great benefit to have someone like him sit in and give you some critiques because he is very talented and knows what he's talking about. I love everything that he's done so far.
Oh yeah, I mean he's like top tier musician for hardcore music, in my opinion. I mean, it's crazy, he's I always thought that he was in my age range, but he's way younger than me. I mean, not way younger, but he's younger. It's cool. It's cool that someone is like, every few moments in HC you get like musicians. You know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
anyone can play HC. That's not hard. But like, you know, in specific groups of people and friends, and some of my friends, like there's like musicians. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like beyond
100%.
just a person who plays hardcore music.
Hmm.
So yeah, no, I respect the way that he writes music. He's a really good guitar player. Shout out.
Okay, and the record's only been out for what, not even a month, just a couple weeks. How do you feel the reception has been? Because for me, looking on the outside and just seeing people repost it, and even like talking to people and just normal conversation, and not even knowing that they were a fan of Combust, but then hearing how much that they love the record, I'm just curious, from your perspective, like how has it been these past couple of weeks?
I think the reception has been pretty good. I mean, I've only seen some negative shit, and I mean that's cool. Not everyone has to like it. Not everyone's gonna like it.
Hmm.
Um, the weirdest shit that I've seen when it comes to like negative aspects though is like people like, oh, it sounds like New York hardcore bands. Like so, like I'm like, yeah, it's supposed to sound like a New York hardcore band. I
Yeah.
mean, like that's a weird thing now. It's like people yeah, it sounds like New York hardcore bands. It may sound familiar. I ain't saying that we were trying to reinvent the wheel on the record. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
That's not my intention. But it's weird that like people look at that in a negative aspect, especially because there aren't bands who do that style. Like that's why I wanted to do that style. There aren't bands who are doing that. Like no one is bringing the sounds of '89 New York to current times. And like I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but it's just for me personally, that's what I wanted to bring.
Yeah, no, and I definitely respect that for you guys to love the bands that came before and wanting to keep that spirit alive. I think that's really awesome for this newer generation to want to do that. It just reminds me of this this argument, which I actually talked about with some friends recently. I got into this argument with this guy from Long Island. I don't want to say his name publicly. He knows who he is. Um, I got into this argument with this guy from Long Island, and he's just like this jaded hardcore dude, and he was trying to tell me that uh, uh, hardcore in the city is dead. And I'm just like, what the hell are you talking about? And I mentioned bands like Combust, and I'm like, are you not paying attention? And I was just like, dude, it's weird for me to be from California and having to defend New York City hardcore to a guy, yeah, he's from Long Island, but still New York. And just like halfway through the argument, I'm like, dude, this is pointless because you're just jaded. And for me to be from the West Coast, trying to open your eyes to what's literally going on in your backyard just makes no sense to me.
Yeah, no, that's definitely weird. If you think that New York City hardcore, I mean, it's kind of double edged. It's like it's not necessarily dead. The shows are thriving all the time,
Hmm.
but there aren't a lot of like bands. Honestly, there aren't a lot of bands coming from the New York City area. There's there's Combust, there's Regulate, there's Bazooka just started. There's The Answer, um, and then you have like kind of more in the punky world of hardcore out here. That's another thing about New York City. It's like very, very clicky, but not clicky in like the way that you would think. It's just like there's just like certain sets of people who go to certain sets of shows, and like it's just gonna be always segregated like that. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? But it's definitely not dead. It's just I do wish that there were more people coming from the New York City area who were starting bands. That'd be cool. But it is what it is. I'm trying to think. I mean, like Illusion and Ikulu have become like New York City bands in their own right.
Hmm.
You know. Um, I mean, there's obviously a lot of great bands, but just there should be more for the how big the city is. There should be more straight up hardcore bands. But whatever. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, but I feel like the fact that you and your friends and doing your bands, I feel like that's what's gonna inspire more people to come out and do that, right? Because obviously, there might be like a lull, right? Not as many bands, new bands starting, but for you guys to keep it alive, I feel like that's really important because you never know who you're going to inspire, especially with this new record, right? Like I said, I'm talking to people who I didn't even know, were, that you guys were on their radar, like, kids like, from, the Massachusetts area out here in Orange County. So I feel like, even though it may, seem kind of weird that, there's only a couple of bands going on, I think it's really important that you guys are doing what you're doing.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, I hope, like, I mean, that was, I think I said this in an interview before, like, when about the record, but I mean, like, I hope that's what, it'd be great if it inspires people to want to do that shit. I kind of want people to look at this LP as like, one of those milestone points for New York City. You know what I mean? Like I said, I set out to make a New York hardcore record, and that's what I wanted to do from the jump. So like, I appreciate people who appreciate the record for what it is and don't look down on it for being a hardcore record. You know what I mean?
And for this being your, first time writing an LP for Combust, was it challenging for you? At any point, did you feel like giving up or wanting to just cut it back to like an EP?
No, I mean, like, I definitely never wanted to give up or make it shorter or anything like that, but it definitely was like, there were times where I felt super stressed out about it because I'm just the type of person to put a lot of pressure on myself for that kind of thing. Like, I'm a perfectionist, you know what I mean? Like, I really want everything just needs to be exactly the way I want it to be. So there were a lot of points where I was like, oh, fuck, like just putting just incredible amounts of pressure on myself to make it perfect. But no, I would never give up.
For sure. No, and I definitely respect that because you only get one chance at doing it for the first time. You put something out that's lesser than, or something that wasn't to your expectations. You don't get a second chance at that because once it's out there, people are just going to kind of consume it in their own way. So I think it's awesome that you're wanting to be a perfectionist and have everything exactly the way you want it.
100%. I mean, like, especially for hardcore bands, like, you get that one shot at the first LP, and then it's kind of like, for most bands, that's like your mark is your LP, and then bands usually die after the first LP.
A lot of bands don't even make it to the first LP, like, which is really strange to me, right?
Exactly.
They'll do the demo and they'll just be stuck at like an EP. They'll do another EP, maybe a split, but to take that plunge and doing an LP, it definitely is a big undertaking because that's a big body of work, and surprisingly, a lot of bands don't get there.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, and now writing it myself, I get it. Shit is hard.
Yeah, a lot of people don't understand the amount of work that it takes into doing something like that. But when I look at the track list, I see 11 tracks. Was there a reason you wanted to just stay at 11 and not keep it like an even number?
I can be completely transparent on this, or I could lie. But I think, like, for the most part, I know that Bright Side has 11 tracks. That's my favorite record. I was like, Bright Side has 11 tracks. I don't want to cut any more tracks than we should. I don't want the record to be too long. I think we could do 11 tracks. That was kind of like my reasoning behind it.
Okay, no,
I was just like,
that's awesome.
We have all these songs written. I don't want to cut all of them. I want as many as possible. Everyone else in the band wanted 9 or 10, and I was like, no, I think we should do more, because that's another thing. I like 11 because it's in the spot where it's like not too many, but also you don't get an LP that's like 8 songs, because that's the thing that's been kind of happening for a minute. Like, bands give you an LP and it's like 8 or 9 songs. I feel like it's kind of, and no diss to them, of course, but I feel like it's kind of like it's missing the spirit of the old LPs, where you get that, like, I mean, shit, Age of Quarrel had what, 15 tracks, 14 tracks, I think, something like that.
Yeah,
I mean, I like to stick to the blueprint that works.
No, for sure, and it's definitely a great formula. Yeah, when I think of an LP, I definitely think of double-digit numbers when it comes to tracks. So when there's something under 10, I'm just kind of like, this is weird.
Right? Exactly. Like, an LP should be a fucking massive a body of work. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I feel like 8 tracks for a HC band, that's an EP.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
You know?
Yeah. No, I definitely agree with you. So, well, thanks for that explanation. And the name of the record, can you explain why you chose Another Life?
Um, so a lot of the lyrical content on the record is like touching up on whether it be people who it kind of all links in together, right? So it's like it's on the self-reflective state, it's on the looking at other people kind of vibe. It's about like all the songs can be connected to a point where the term having another life can come into play, whether it be like people who fake the life that they got, me wishing that I could start over and fix, like, do shit within my own life differently. um Another Life was also inspired by an Iron Maiden song off their second record. It kind of just like had the vibe that I wanted. When I hear it, it kind of just like clicks like that. I don't know, you hear you hear like a term or a set of words and it kind of like clicks in your head. It's kind of like when I was writing the lyrics, like everything kind of clicked into my head, that like that was kind of like the underlying theme of all the shit that I was talking about.
Okay. Yeah, no, I don't dig it. It doesn't seem like anything too extra. It feels very fitting. Like when you listen to the record and kind of sit back and think about the name of it, I'm like, yeah, that fits in my mind.
Yeah.
And as far as the artwork, that I think it looks insane. Colorful, pretty intense. Can you talk about whose decision it was to go in that direction?
Yeah, so we got the artwork from Chad Keplinger. Shout out. He's a tattoo artist. He's out in Nashville, Tennessee. Um for the album art, I kind of like, that's the thing where I didn't stick to the formula. I didn't want the same old album art I've seen 10 million times with like the same old kind of from the same artist that everyone else is getting it from in hardcore music. You know what I mean? Like it's been done. Like it's not to say it's bad, but I didn't want that. I want something like fresh to look at. And he does these paintings, and you can check him out on his Instagram. I'm sure they're all over there. But like the paintings this dude does, I've been obsessed with for a minute. Like his style is like the aesthetic of it, the I mean the talent of it. Like it's like it just really captured me for some reason. I don't know. It's just like really good, really good. Really love the feel of it. Uh, yeah. So I mean, I hit up my boy Ian, tattoos in Richmond. I was like, yo, like, you think Chad would be down to do a painting for our record? And because he's apparently a hardcore head.
Okay.
So my boy Ian hit him up for me. He said, yeah, he's down, hit him up. And we gave him lyrics, told him like what style of shit that we like from him, and he gave us that.
That's awesome. That's cool that he was down to do it, because I feel like that's like wanting to get something done by somebody and then them not wanting to do it. That would have been a big bummer. Did you have a plan B if he wasn't going to be down?
I mean, we were like we were still in like the beginning stages of recording at the time, so I was like not super pressed on if he wasn't down. You know what I mean? I would have been like, all right, well then we'll just figure it out. If that, I mean, I'm sure we had other plan Bs at the time, but I don't know.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that he ended up doing it, because like you look at it and it's not like this doesn't look like a New York hardcore record at all. This could be anything, in my opinion. I look at that and I'm like, oh, this could be any kind of band.
Yeah.
I don't see a hardcore band record when I look at this.
No, when I think of Combust and then I look at that art, I'm just like, okay, that is different, and but it's a good thing, because like you said, I mean, you don't want to go to the typical hardcore record, album cover, which could not capture someone's eye. Someone could just overlook it because it looks so traditional. But the fact that this is so different, I like it, because you're right. Because even your logo on the album cover, it's like I feel like it's like kind of in the middle. It's not like traditionally hardcore and not too metal. So I do like that. When you look at that, you're just not really sure what you're gonna get.
Exactly, and then you listen to it and you're like, oh, this is a straight up New York hardcore record. Mm-hmm. It's cool. I like the way that works.
Yeah,
You know
no,
what I mean?
yeah, I definitely dig it. I'm glad that you decided to think outside of the box and wanted to do something creative to make the record stick out a little more.
Exactly. And I mean, it's like we did that already. Like the demo, the EP, like we had that classic vibe on both of those things. You know what I mean? It's
Hmm.
like good to stray away from it.
Yeah,
So
yeah, especially obviously it's a big deal first LP, so to get some special artwork done, it's super sick.
yeah.
And bringing up like Cash Only Records again, I'm curious how you decided to link it with them, because obviously you were on another level before, but how was that decision made, and how'd you link up with them?
So like I said, like when we started talking to Connor about like doing sitting in on practices and shit and like giving his thoughts about the LP. He was starting up. I think he was starting it up at the same time. Well, the first release for Cash Only was the Akulu LP,
Mm-hmm.
and so like all our boys just run Cash Only Records, and Connor is one of them. And he was, he was hype on the LP, the Combust LP. You know what I mean? He was, and he wanted to. They want to grow the label. They want to put out more bands. They're in New York City, so they're our boys. Like it kind of made sense where like we were building the brand of my thing, me and Harry's thing that we do, Core Clientele, which is like we book shows and we do a zine,
Mm-hmm.
and we kind of just felt like it was a good way to like show that there is a good hardcore community in New York City, and those are the boys. So when they said, "Yo, let's do it on Cash Only," I was more than down. You know what I mean?
Yeah, when I saw that announcement, I was stoked for for the label and for you guys too, because obviously there's a ton of hardcore labels going on right now. You guys could have landed anywhere with this record, but the fact that you landed with them, I just felt like it was a good fit, and it felt just really refreshing, because seeing a newer label, and I know those guys, and seeing them get a band like Combust and listening to the record, I'm like, oh, this is so sick. I was just like super stoked for everyone, because I just felt like it was a really good situation.
Hell yeah, I'm glad you feel that way. That's exactly what I want people to see it as. Like just yeah, exactly. It's a good situation for everyone. It's like boys helping out their boys, like, building the brand in New York City, you know what I mean? Like, cause New York City kind of lost that for a minute. Like it went from the most important pillar of New York hardcore, and now it's kind of like, of hardcore in general, and now it's kind of like there isn't as much representation, but like, like that needs to happen more. There needs to be more of the community reaching out within New York.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I feel like you guys are definitely the ones who are championing that flag and making things happen. And like I said earlier, hopefully inspiring people, younger kids in your area to realize that shit like that
Yeah,
is possible, and that they can do it too.
exactly.
Okay. So when the record came out, I listened to it, and the one song that stuck out to me was the fourth track, "Devil in Me." I was just curious if you can talk about that and what that song means.
So that song is actually, I think, like only one of the only faster songs on the record. So that's cool. It stuck out to you. Um, it's a song that I wrote. It's actually one of my more very, very personal songs too. I wrote it when I did something wrong by a very good friend of mine, like one of my best friends. I did, and it was just like a really difficult point in my life where I really like I beat myself up really bad for a long time about it. And it's just kind of a song about how you need to take a step back and you need to understand that you know I think a lot of people in life make wrong decisions by people they really care about, and not everyone really like takes the step back to really think about it and really but when it hurts you in a certain kind of way, it makes you really think about it. But that song's basically about how I feel like kind of everyone has that little secret part of themselves that does that thing that you could never believe that you could do to someone you like really care about.
Okay. And not to get too personal, but were you able to like mend the fences? Is everything cool, or you guys?
Yeah, yeah. Thankfully, we're still best friends now, thankfully. But for a minute, just fucking like it hurt bad. You know.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. Nobody's perfect, but I'm happy you're able to self reflect and figure things out.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. And there was a music video shot for "Why I Hate." Can
Mhm.
you talk about who JD Burrow is?
JD Burrow is a dude out in Richmond. He he's done videos for Enforced. You know that band? They're a thrash
Hmm.
band from Richmond. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, well, the original idea that we wanted for Why I Hate was that we wanted to do it. We wanted to do it in our practice space in New York, but no one could get together, and like no, we couldn't find someone to do it like in the time frame that we had to work with. So we were playing a show in Richmond with like a bunch of our friends and shit, and we were like, maybe since all of our friends will be there anyway, maybe we can just like have some dude in Richmond do the video for us. And then my boy Ace pointed me in the direction of JD, and yeah, I mean he did a great job, straight up. I mean he does like really high quality shit. And
Hmm.
I told him, I was like, we don't want anything crazy. Just like follow us with a camera while we're chilling, and then shoot the show, and then we're good. So he was really cool about it.
Yeah, and he did a really good job because when you look at or when we watch the video and you see that high quality footage, you're like, oh, this is actually shot really well because obviously somebody could have just done it on an iPhone or something, but I'm not sure what he shot it with, but like you could tell that some of the stuff was shot like with something really nice.
Oh yeah, I mean, there were times where we were chilling, where we were just chilling, and he was filming us, and I was like, "This is fucking funny," because this dude has like this mad expensive equipment, and we're just walking down streets being jerk offs.
Mhm.
And then like he came to the show with like all this lighting gear and shit, and I was like, "Oh, this is absurd." But no, it was cool. It looks great. So shout out to him.
Mhm. Yeah, and I always like it when bands do music videos because it's weird how like back in the day when like MTV was a thing, TRL and all that shit, right? Like music videos were so important, and then as time went on with the internet, it just doesn't seem like people or bands or artists really focus on that like like it's a big deal. Like obviously people still do it, but I just feel like
Yeah.
in our space not as much.
Well, I think because for hardcore bands, there's a very like easy line, there's a very easy line to cross where it becomes like cool to corny.
Hmm.
It's very hard to do a cool hardcore music video without like, I don't know, like I think if you're gonna for the most part do a video for a hardcore band, like it should be something funny, or it should just be like something where you're not trying to take yourself too seriously, because
Hmm.
then it just comes off the wrong way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think
I mean, that's my personal opinion, but I mean,
when it comes to like hardcore like bands like doing music videos, the only thing that I've ever like actually hated is like staged like moshing. I always felt like that was weird, just like moshing in like the weirdest places, like not at a show. I'm just like, okay, this is like a little
oh
strange.
like you mean like when they do a show in like a warehouse or some shit, like an abandoned building or some
Or
shit.
like on like train tracks, like I'm sure you've seen shit
Yeah,
like that. Yeah, I'm like, this is fucking weird. Um,
yeah, no, exactly. I mean, like it's a very fine line between cool and then it could cross over into like this doesn't come off well.
mhm. Okay, well, will there be any more music videos for the record, or
Eh, probably not.
okay, well, I had to ask because I enjoyed obviously why I hate it, and I was just curious.
Yeah, no, probably not.
Okay, and this is funny. I actually saw you in Jersey. God, when was this? Was it November or was it October? Regulate downfall in Perth
Oh yeah,
Amboy.
yeah,
I
yeah.
yeah, I was there, but I was just kind of low key.
Oh, you were there?
I was, yeah.
I
Yeah,
didn't even fucking see you.
I was just chilling because I went down with my buddy Jeff who films for Feet First Productions because
Okay.
I was staying in Wilkes-Barre, so he hit me up because he was going to the show, and I'm good friends with Jason who plays in Never Again, so I was like, yeah, like let me roll out, see what it's like down there in Jersey.
Oh shit. Okay. Yeah, I mean, shout out Fee first. That's cool.
Yeah, it was a fun show.
That show was sick.
Yeah.
That show was actually really cool for Downfall. Shout out Amboy.
Okay. And Combust has a lot of sick shows lined up. And is there going to be like a tour in the future, or are you guys just trying to just keep it to these like selective dates?
So we got like I think 4 shows in April this month, and then
That's a
we
lot.
have like 3 in May, and then June. I mean, I shouldn't be talking too much shit, but June's gonna be the record release. I can't say when or who yet,
Okay.
but it will be in June, and it will be in New York City. I will say that.
That's awesome.
And then in the summer we have mad tours, not mad tours, but there will be at least 2 or 3 tours in the summer into fall that we are going to be announcing and doing. So
Okay. All right. Well, I just want to pry just a little. Will there be West Coast dates?
that's the plan.
Oh, awesome. That's really sick to hear. Okay, cool. Now I'm excited.
That's the plan. Nothing has been set in stone just yet, but the plan is to do the whole joint. So we're gonna do that.
Awesome. Okay. And I have to ask you about you guys get to play one of the last Gold show in New York. Can you hear about how you guys were approached to play that?
Yeah, super excited that Elliot from Gulch hit me up. I didn't even know him. He just hit me up and he was like, yo, can Combust play one of the last Gulch shows in New York City? And I was like, yo, that'd be cool. Yeah, I mean, show is gonna be sick. It's sold out immediately, so that's cool. I mean, we're just gonna. I mean, when I think about like people who go to a sold out Gulch show, I mean, like, I don't think that they're gonna have like Combust too much on their radar, or maybe they might. I really don't know what to expect when it comes to New York City. Like, you get a mixed bag every single time. Like, it could be hardcore kids. It could be like kids I've never seen before. It could be kids who it's their first show in general. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like a bunch of different people all the time. So, I mean, we're just going to play our fucking set, do our thing.
Yeah. Well,
Like
I think it's a great opportunity. Shout out Elliot. He's a great guy. So I'm seeing.
Yeah, super nice. Super nice. Like I said, like really, really was humbled that he just hit me up randomly and was like, yo, we want Combust to play the show. Really nice.
Yeah, no, definitely respect, and I'm sure that shit's gonna go crazy because that band is so big, and I think obviously they have the reason, but I think it's strange that they're obviously calling it quits. This early, and everywhere they're going, it's selling out. It's something a big deal, so I'm happy that Combust gets to be a part of that.
Yeah, same, for sure.
Okay, well, I'm definitely stoked on the record. I'm happy to have been able to talk about it. But you mentioned core clientele earlier. I remember when I had Harry on the podcast a while back, that was like just getting started. So I'm just curious to know how it's been for you from your perspective, and like how are you enjoying doing core clientele?
I've always wanted to do a zine, like forever. I think zines are really fucking cool. It's just one of those things in hardcore that like it's tried and true. It's always something that'll be around. And it's good to just have that like tangible material. But it started out as a zine and then it snowballed into like, it should be more of a collective more than just a zine. And, me and Harry want to bring like the best kind of shows possible in New York City. And we want to make sure that like the bands are getting treated the way they should be. And like the shows are being treated as hardcore shows rather than big business shows. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When it comes to New York City, there's a lot of shit that happens where like people who don't care about hardcore music at the show, and like the show just turns out the vibe is all fucked up, like it's at a whack venue. So I'm glad that we have been able to bring people a good representation of what hardcore should operate as in New York City. And the zine's been cool. People really be fucking with it. We have I'm gonna shamelessly plug it right now. we have like 10 issues left of the third one in the big cartel. So if you want to cop that, I mean, like, shout out to everyone who's been a part of the zine too. This last one was a little bit rocky to get out. because the dude who does our graphic design has been like taking trips. That's what he does. He just goes on vacation all willy nilly, does whatever he wants. Must be nice. Good for him. You know.
Yeah, I was about to ask if you had like a schedule, for when you like to release these zines, because I do know that the third issue is out. Shout out to Pat on the cover, and it's on your Instagram. So I was curious about if 4 should be right around the corner or if it's going to be a minute.
I mean, I would love to say that it's right around the corner, but God knows it's not at all. I would love to have a schedule, but that's also not going to happen. I think eventually what I'd love to do is just learn Photoshop myself and just do all the work, like just do all the interviews and all the shit for it myself, and then I'll just throw it into Photoshop myself, because I hate annoying people to get graphic design work done. It's one of the least favorite things in the world.
Yeah, especially when like you're like waiting to hear back from the person, and you're like, shit, I want to put this out. Like if everything's ready to go and you're just waiting on that last thing, it definitely can be frustrating. Yeah.
And I'm a mad annoying person, so I don't wish anyone to work with me.
Yeah. Well, maybe in the future, it's never too late to learn. I literally taught myself, through watching YouTube videos and reading stuff on like Reddit on how to do this podcast and how to do the video editing. So it's possible.
Yeah, I keep telling myself I'm gonna just make the time and do it, and I just keep putting it off and putting it off. But I definitely will one of these days get my lazy ass to do it, especially now I have all the time in the world because I'm unemployed, so I need to get on some shit.
Okay. And there's a show coming up that Core Clientele is booking, and and last thing on the zine, what I do think is cool about you have the zine, and even though it may not be on this timely schedule, the fact that Core Clientele is not just the zine, right? You have these shows that are going on, like the one that's happening next week with Buried Alive, Sanction, Age of Apocalypse, End It, and Almighty Watching. I think it's cool. That's another way to kind of stay relevant and be in front of people's faces.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, that show is a great lineup. I mean, that show should be sick. I'm excited for that. It's like not mixed bill, but it's still mixed bill. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Almighty Watching is like and Ended are straight up hardcore bands, and you have Sanction or like fucking, and then Age of Apocalypse is like a hardcore band, but not a hardcore band,
Yeah.
Buried Alive is classic, obviously. It should be a good show.
I know. I definitely respect that. But and outside of that, do you guys have more shows lined up that you haven't announced yet that you want to announce?
We always got some shit in the works. So, I mean, like I said, the Combust record release will be a Core Clientele show.
Mm-hmm.
And that'll be big. And we have other shit that we're trying to figure out at the moment that I'm sure, internet's a big place. You'll see it.
Yeah, for sure. I'm sure it'll float around on my timeline. I follow, people from your area, some of your friends. So I'll hopefully be in the loop. But as far as other bands, are you doing anything else on the side, or are you just trying to focus on Combust?
Well, I play in Downfall,
mm-hmm.
and I play in The Answer now too.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
they had a lot.
That's kind of a brand new thing.
That's funny. I remember they had some lineup issues back in when they played Wilkes-Barre. Maybe I shouldn't be talking about this, but it was a weird situation. But
no, it's okay. Genos, the guitar player, he died, and then AJ he got into too many car accidents and he just couldn't be in the band anymore.
That's wild, but I'm happy that you're in that band because I'm wearing the t-shirt right now. I had to represent for New York, and I love that band, so I'm stoked to hear that you're in that and helping keeping that project alive. Shout out to
it's cool. They're all my friends. Matt's a great drummer. It's cool playing with him. Downfall's got a record coming out soon. I probably shouldn't have said that, but
nope.
LP's coming out soon, so be on the lookout for that. It's very heavy. Mm-hmm. If you like heavy music, you will like the Downfall record.
That's awesome. I'm happy that they're keeping it going out there in Richmond.
Yeah, no, it's cool. I love being in Richmond. Like I said, especially I have all this like downtime all the time now. So
Hmm.
I'm there for like a weekend or a week, and then I come back, and it's cool.
To this day, I still have never been to Richmond.
Oh, it's great. I love Richmond.
Yeah, I gotta make it out there sometime.
Yeah,
Wanna
it's fun.
wanna go to a show. Want to go see Foster and experience what it's like out there.
Oh yeah, dude, definitely. I mean, get tattooed down there too.
Make it happen. And
Yeah.
obviously, I'm guessing you're going to be down there for that big takeover that's happening. Which is
Yeah, yeah. Downfall's playing the second day, then the Saturday, I believe.
okay. There's a lot of bands on that. It's pretty cool.
Oh my god, it's like fucking 20. It's
Yeah.
insane. I'm not built like that anymore, bro.
I'm starting to realize that because I'm like traveling more for shows. Like I was just in Philly for a show, and there was like a whole lineup, and I only moshed for like one band because I'm just like old and I'm tired, and I just I just don't have it in me to do it all day anymore. I got to be
Dude,
selective.
yo, it's bad. It's bad, man. I
It,
gotta I gotta start doing sprinting all the time now. It's like 20 band. When I think about watching 20 bands,
mhm.
my brain collapses. There's no way I could do that. But shout out Ace for booking that fest. Lineup's good. Uh I'm sure it'll be dope. It's got a cool like rounded out bunch of bands. Like there's not just straight up hardcore the whole day, which is cool.
Yeah, I feel like it's a good mix, and it's definitely awesome that Richmond still has something going on, like in terms of like a fest, because United Blood decided to hang it up, so respect to them. But the fact that Ace and Triple B stepped up and they're doing something out there, it should be cool for the area.
Yeah, rest in peace, United Blood. One of the best fests, in my opinion.
You know, every time I see you, you're always wearing polo. When I see these pictures, I think it's cool because when I think of you, that's something that comes to mind. So I feel like that's a like a pretty cool thing that you've done. I'm just curious where your fascination comes from when it comes to polo.
I mean, I'm a hip hop head, you know, and as I was like as I was coming up listening to hip hop, you would see polo all the time,
Hmm.
like in the '90s shit. And then my boy Ryan would wear. I remember I never cared about like clothes at all in any shape, fashion, or form at all. And my boy Ryan, one of my best friends, he would always come around like wearing like the little bear shit. And I was like, I remember the first time I saw him with it on, I roasted him. I was like, "Yo, what are you taking Easter pictures?" And and I don't know, I just like I think something clicked one day where I just started seeing different like certain kinds of polo pieces, and I was like, "Yo, this shit's fucking sick." And then I would listen to certain hip hop shit, and then I would find out I'd be like, "Oh, they're talking about when they." I never even knew this when I was a kid. When they would say low, they would say the word low, and they were talking about polo, and I was like, "Oh shit, they're talking about polo here," and like all these songs, and like Onyx was talking about killing people for polo, and I was like, "Is that real?" And then I looked it up, and I was like, "Yo, people actually were like getting killed for polo." And then I kind of like did a deep dive into like the history of like polo's impact on like the hip hop community in like New York City and all that shit, and like then you find out that there were gangs of like that just were all about robbing polo and wearing polo, and it just kind of like really fascinated me, and that's how I kind of got drawn into it.
And obviously, fashion and hip hop, they go hand in hand. And are you interested in any of the like more current brands when it comes to like all like the hype beast stuff, or are you just sticking straight to polo? Because polo is classic, timeless.
Yeah.
So I definitely respect that. But I'm just curious if like any of like the newer stuff interests you.
No, I'm not really I'm not a fashion guy in that sense at all. Like I said, I never was. I was
Hmm.
never like a big fashion guy. Like I literally put on shit now and I don't even know if it matches. I don't get how matching works. I just put on like whatever I think looks dope. But I'm strictly polo. Like that's like when it comes to fashion in quotes.
Hmm.
That's like really I think because it's just more about like look. It's not about looking good in my opinion. It's just like I just love putting on as much crazy shit as I can because I love it that much.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's cool. I definitely respect that. I've often wanted to trade out all my band shirts for just something else. I've always thought about it. Like it would be cool to like I have all these like shirts behind me to get rid of all of them and just wear like I was thinking about just getting like video game t-shirts, but then I was like, I don't really know where to get a bunch of video game t-shirts, but then I just never did it. I still just
Oh, dude, eBay.
I just still just wear all my band t-shirts. And honestly, I don't even wear half these things. These literally just like sit here all day. There's
Oh yeah, I mean, like I'm looking at like 80 shirts that I never touch ever right now. So
okay, and I'm curious, like when you wear your polo, is it just like feel like normal clothes to you, or are you like trying to be careful? Since some of that stuff can be older.
I mean, sometimes I won't wear certain shit to certain places. Like I won't. I say this, but like I literally wore all white to my boy show the other But sometimes like I don't want to go to a show and wear some shit that I feel like I don't want people to fucking rip or fucking whatever. Sometimes some shit just got to stay home.
Okay, no, I definitely
Yeah.
definitely respect that. But yeah, but that's awesome because I literally like I can't think of a time where I've seen you and you're not wearing polo. So that's pretty awesome.
There you go.
Okay, and yeah, that's awesome. I'm really stoked that we were able to talk about that. But I'm happy that you were able to do the podcast. But before we sign off, I've been staring at this poster behind you. That's a Dangerous poster on your wall, right?
This one? Yeah.
Okay. I think that band has always been underrated, especially out here, even where they're from, like out here in California. I feel like a lot of people don't pay that band enough respect.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of controversy surrounded by that band, so I get it.
True.
I mean, being on the East Coast and being younger when I was getting into that band, I didn't know any of it.
Mm-hmm.
So it was what it is. But especially when I was younger, I was like super into like the very tongue in cheek, over the top, calling out shit kind of lyrics. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I think Dangerous is kind of like always the most outspoken, or if not, like one of the more outspoken bands when it came to just like calling out bullshit. Music was really original for a hardcore band. I don't know, something about it, just like I was really into just like a lot of Cali shit when I was younger. Like, I mean, Ceremony, Trash Talk, and Dangers were like my fucking favorite bands when I was in high school. So
yeah,
no, that record's great.
Yeah, and that's messy, isn't it, for anybody who's curious? But you mentioned Trash Talk. I see them being active again, and I'm hoping that I get to see them at some point this year. I'm assuming they're going to play like some of the bigger fests out here. Nothing's.
I mean, I don't know. I've seen that they're playing a fest out in Detroit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and they're playing. They had like a couple one-offs in Cali, and then I was actually supposed to do something for them in New York, but then it just ended up not happening. But I mean, we'll see. It seems like they want to play more. I know, like, I think Garrett lives in like fucking Australia.
Oh wow, shit. I didn't even know that.
And then Dave lives in New York, and like that. I think they're all just kind of like spread out and shit. But I mean, hopefully they start playing again. That band was always great.
Yeah, I'm curious if like those one-offs in California kind of like sparked something because there was that time where they were playing to like the Odd Future crowd and it was little the hardcore kids. I felt like Trash Talk kind of like just sold out and like was doing something else, but in reality I felt like that band just never changed. I think people just wanted to write them off and just move on, but I still listen to all their stuff, and anytime I would see them once they kind of catered to that different crowd, I felt like it was the same band as always. So I hope.
Oh yeah, I mean they play a great set every show they play. They don't even play like any new shit when they play. They play like 5 new songs max, and then the rest is all just classics.
And that's what I heard about these shows they played in California, that they played a lot of older stuff from like Walking Disease and Plagues. So I'm hoping that they're inspired and want to do more, because you mentioned Detroit, and I'm surprised to hear that they wanted to do something in New York. But yeah, I'm just hoping that they continue to do more. I hope that
Yeah, we'll see.
yeah, I just hope they're having fun with it. But
Yeah.
that's super sick. But okay, well, Andrew, this has been awesome. I appreciate you taking the time to come on the podcast and talk about the record. Like I said, I enjoyed it, and I know a lot of other people enjoy that record as well. So I'm sure they're going to be happy to hear from you. But before we sign off, is there anything else you would like to say?
No, just thank you very much, man. I really appreciate it. Like, thanks again for having me on the podcast, for real.
Man, no
Doing what
problem.
you do.
Thank you. You're always welcome on the podcast. I definitely appreciate your time. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in, and we'll be back soon.